For half a millennium, the city of Baghdad had been the pride of the Islamic world, a capital built not only of stone and brick, but of ideas. Its domes shimmered beneath the Mesopotamian sun. Its markets hummed with merchants from as far as India, Syria, and Central Asia. Its scholars wrote in the lamplight of midnight, debating mathematics, astronomy, philosophy, medicine, and theology. Travelers from China to Europe spoke of Baghdad with awe. It was the city of Harun al-Rashid, the city of Scheherazade, the city of the great Abbasid caliphs who ruled lands from the Atlantic to the Indus. For centuries, it had been the undisputed heart of Islamic civilization, a place where the pursuit of knowledge was a pillar of life itself. But by the middle of the 13th century, Baghdad's golden age was dimming. It was still a city of wealth, still a city of culture, but no longer a city of power. The world around it had changed, violently, rapidly, and beyond recognition. Yet Baghdad acted as though its old prestige could shield it from the storms that tore through Asia. And at the center of that storm stood the Mongol Empire. Led by the grandsons of Genghis Khan, this empire had carved its way across continents with terrifying speed. Entire kingdoms vanished as Mongol armies swept across the plains. Cities that resisted were erased from the map. Those that submitted became vassals, paying tribute to a power that claimed the authority of heaven and the inevitability of destiny. When Hulagu Khan, brother of the great Khan Mongke, marched west, he was not seeking glory. He was delivering a message to the rulers of the Muslim world, to the heirs of ancient Persia, and to the Abbasids themselves. Submit or disappear. Baghdad chose defiance, and the Mongols came. The siege that followed would become one of the most important and devastating events in medieval history, a turning point that marked the end of the old Islamic world and the rise of new powers. This is the story of how Baghdad fell, a story of pride and miscalculation, of diplomacy ignored and warnings unheeded, of siegecraft on an unprecedented scale, of fire, slaughter, and the death of a civilization's greatest symbol. This is the Mongol Siege of Baghdad, Chapter 1, The Golden Age, Fading. To understand why Baghdad fell, we must first understand what Baghdad once was, and what it had become. Founded in 762 by the Abbasid Caliph al-Mansur, Baghdad was designed as a round city, a perfect circle surrounded by walls and crowned by the green dome of the caliph's palace. Over time, it expanded far beyond its original design, growing into a metropolis of 1 million people, one of the largest cities on earth. In its prime, Baghdad fostered unmatched intellectual brilliance. The House of Wisdom gathered scholars from multiple faiths to translate and preserve ancient texts. Astronomers charted the heavens with mathematical precision. Doctors advanced medical knowledge that would shape the next 600 years of science. Poets, musicians, and storytellers thrived under the patronage of powerful caliphs. Baghdad in the 9th century was not just a city, it was a global beacon. But by the 13th century, the Abbasid Caliphate had declined dramatically. The reasons were many: failure of central authority. Provinces far from Baghdad acted independently. Local dynasties, the Fatimids, Seljuks, Ayyubids, Zengids, had risen and fallen. The caliph's authority was often symbolic. Weak military structure, the caliphs relied heavily on mercenaries and Turkish slave soldiers, Mamluks, whose loyalty was unreliable. Baghdad had prestige but lacked a strong army. Economic strain. The once thriving irrigation canals of Mesopotamia were poorly maintained, reducing agricultural productivity. Political infighting. Court factions crippled decision-making. Ministers competed for influence while foreign threats grew, and yet Baghdad still lived as though it were unassailable, as if history would protect it. A civilization that once led the world in science and wisdom no longer recognized the magnitude of the Mongol threat. Chapter 2. The Mongols turned west. The Mongol Empire had already conquered more land in 50 years than Rome conquered, in 500. After subduing northern China and crushing the Khwarezmian Empire, the Mongols commanded an army forged in constant war. Hardened horsemen, master archers, unmatched encirclement tactics, engineers from China capable of demolishing any fortress. By the 1250s, Mongol Khan ruled the empire from Karakoram. From there, he issued a clear and uncompromising directive to his brother, Hulagu: bring the Muslim West to heel. Persia, Mesopotamia, Syria, perhaps even Egypt. The Abbasid Caliphate was a particular target, not because of faith the Mongols tolerated many religions, but because al-Musta'sim, the caliph in Baghdad, refused to acknowledge Mongol supremacy. Envoys sent by Mongol demanded the caliph's submission. Al-Musta'sim's responses were confident, even arrogant. He warned the Mongols that Allah would protect his city. He mocked their power. He refused to send reinforcements or tribute. In Mongol political culture, this was not merely an insult. It was a declaration of war. But this time, the Mongols would not come with a small force. They would come with enough strength to tear down a civilization. Hulagu assembled a massive army, perhaps 80,000 to 120,000 men, including Mongol cavalry, Chinese siege engineers, Persian foot soldiers, Armenian and Georgian auxiliaries, Christian forces from the Caucasus. It was a coalition built for one purpose: the destruction of Baghdad. Chapter 3: The March to Baghdad. As Hulagu marched west through Persia, the pattern of Mongol diplomacy unfolded with cold clarity. Cities that surrendered were spared, mostly. Cities that resisted ceased to exist. The Mongols had perfected psychological warfare. Refugees fleeing ahead of them carried tales of slaughter. Destroyed cities left smoking ruins as warnings. Survivors were deliberately allowed to spread fear. By the time Hulagu reached the Zagros Mountains, the region was already trembling. In Persia, cities fell rapidly. Nishapur destroyed, Ray sacked, Hamadan subdued, Alamut, the fortress of the assassins, captured. Each victory tightened the noose around Baghdad. But al-Musta'sim did not send assistance to these cities. He did not form alliances. He did not mobilize armies. Perhaps he trusted the city's enormous walls. Perhaps he believed his status as caliph offered divine protection. Perhaps he simply did not understand Mongol warfare. Whatever the cause, Baghdad drifted toward catastrophe. When Hulagu reached the Tigris River in late 1257, he found a city wealthy, famous, and militarily unprepared. He assumed the city would resist, and he was ready for it. Chapter 4: The Fatal Miscalculations. Baghdad's defense was crippled not by lack of courage, but by lack of leadership. Caliph al-Musta'sim was religious and scholarly, but not politically gifted. He trusted ministers who downplayed the Mongol threat. He distrusted generals who urged preparation. The court was split into factions. Chief Minister Ibn al-Alqami, a cautious and calculating figure, Turkish military commanders, court bureaucrats, and administrators. Some chroniclers, especially later Mamluk writers, accused Ibn al-Alqami of treason, saying he intentionally weakened Baghdad's defenses to gain personal power after the caliph's fall. Modern historians debate this. There is no firm proof of betrayal, but what is certain is this: Baghdad failed to mobilize its potential military strength. The caliphate could have mustered 50,000 troops from loyal tribes and regions. Only a fraction were called. The city's walls could have been reinforced with earthen banks and wooden hoardings. They were not. The Tigris could have been fortified with chains, stakes, and river defenses. It wasn't. Envoys from Hulagu demanded submission. Al-Musta'sim rejected them, but he did not prepare for the consequences. The Mongols were coming, and Baghdad acted as though they would stop at the gates, intimidated by faith alone. History shows that faith without strategy is no defense against siege engines. Chapter 5: Encirclement. The noose tightens. In January 1258, the Mongol army reached Baghdad. It was a cold winter. The riverbanks were muddy. The sky was a pale gray that matched the dust kicked up by tens of thousands of horses. Hulagu divided his army into strategic positions around the city. North of Baghdad, siege lines, ditches, trenches, and watchtowers. Engineers built platforms for trebuchets. South of Baghdad, Mongol units destroyed farmland, cut supply lines, captured villages, and killed anyone fleeing the city. East of Baghdad, thousands of workers assembled catapults, battering rams, and Chinese traction trebuchets. West of Baghdad, the Mongols famously diverted the Tigris River, creating a dry passage that allowed siege engines to approach the city walls. This maneuver alone demonstrated their engineering mastery. Inside the city, the defenders panicked but tried to fight back. The caliph ordered a sortie, a direct attack on the Mongol camp. It was ambitious, but doomed. The Mongols pretended to retreat, led the forces into an ambush, and annihilated them. Many of Baghdad's best soldiers died in this single mistake. Now the city's fate was sealed. The noose tightened. Chapter 6. The siege begins. The siege officially began in late January. It started with noise, thunderous impacts of stones launched from Mongol catapults. The Mongols used mangonels, simple but effective stone throwers, counterweight trebuchets, powerful engines capable of demolishing walls, Chinese siege machines, teams of up to 200 men pulling ropes in synchronized rhythm. These machines hurled stones, firepots, and incendiary materials relentlessly. Baghdad's defenders returned fire with their own engines, but the imbalance was obvious. The Mongols had dozens of siege machines, the defenders had a handful. Within days, cracks formed in the walls. Within a week, entire sections collapsed. As the walls weakened, Mongol infantry and engineers advanced, filling moats with earth and fascines, building ramps, positioning battering rams, protecting themselves with large wooden shields. The defenders fought bravely, particularly the caliph's Mamluks, but the momentum was unstoppable. When a key section of the outer wall collapsed on February 5th, Mongol forces surged forward. By February 6th, the city was breached. By February 10th, Baghdad surrendered. Chapter 7. The End of the Caliphate. The Caliph al-Mustazim was brought before Hulagu. The Mongols had a custom: royal blood could not be shed, so executions were carried out without blades. Various sources describe different methods: rolled inside a carpet and trampled by horses, crushed beneath heavy objects, starved while imprisoned. Whichever method was used, the message was clear. The Abbasid dynasty was finished. For 500 years, the Abbasid caliphs ruled the Muslim world. Their empire had risen with brilliance, expanded across continents, and reshaped history. Now, in a single moment, the lineage ended. The Mongols allowed a few Abbasid survivors to flee to Cairo, where a ceremonial shadow caliphate would later be established under the Mamluks, but it held no real power. Baghdad and the world had changed forever. Chapter 8. The Sack of the City of Peace. The destruction of Baghdad lasted about a week. The Mongols separated the population into groups. Artisans were enslaved. Scholars and officials were questioned, many killed. Women and children were often taken captive. Most of the male population was executed. Numbers in medieval chronicles are unreliable. Some claim hundreds of thousands died. Modern historians estimate 100,000 to 200,000 deaths, still one of the worst losses in pre-modern history. But the cultural destruction was even greater. The House of Wisdom, the legendary library and research center, was destroyed. Books and scientific manuscripts were thrown into the Tigris. Ink dissolved into the water, turning parts of the river dark. Scrolls floated downstream like leaves after a storm. Decades of intellectual heritage disappeared in days. The city's canals, once the pride of Mesopotamian agriculture, were shattered. With irrigation gone, the fields became barren. It would take centuries for the region to recover. The City of Peace had become a graveyard, or the Library of Ashes. Today, Baghdad is a living city once more, rebuilt, reimagined, and repopulated. Its people have endured invasions, wars, and upheavals, always rising again. But the memory of 1258 lingers. It is a story of a brilliant civilization overtaken by a force it underestimated. A story of choices, some made too late, some never made at all. A story of knowledge lost, of arrogance punished, and of the fragility of human achievement. The fall of Baghdad reminds us that great cities are not destroyed in a single moment. They are weakened slowly by complacency, by misjudgment, by the failure to understand new realities. And when the storm finally comes, it is already too late to prepare. This was the Mongol Siege of Baghdad, the end of an age or the beginning of another.